Oh, well, the markets go up and down, and crypto's not immune to the macro. We're still dealing with issues from the tariffs. We're still dealing with a great degree of economic uncertainty. Just this year was a little lackluster, but overall, I'm still very optimistic in the next 12 months. I think we'll clear most of this downside the next 2 quarters, and we'll be back up to $250,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2026.
Okay, so 2 quarters you think it's going to take, but the reality, if you look at some of the technicals here, the many watchers are saying, look, if you look at the time that has taken since the last halving event of Bitcoin that occurred April 2024, this is typically what you see 400 to 600 days after, so more of a technical factor here. But I would say this time is a little bit different in the sense that we've had a whole bunch of ETFs that have been launched. Institutionals have come into this space. We've got an administration in the United States that is crypto friendly. Does that make a difference to any downscale that we could see here that typically could last a lot longer if it were not those factors in the backdrop?
Well, I mean, it's a very different kind of bull market than the last three times that we had the 4-year cycle. I mean, the last three times it was retail led, most notably in 2021, where everything reached an all-time high. But this time around, you have BlackRock and Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and the US government, all others coming in. And really, there's a big transition where a lot of assets that are in the crypto space are real world assets. I mean, if you take a look at the growth of verticals like stable coins, for example, we're over 250 billion issued, and it's going to be over $1 trillion by 2030. And it's kind of a soft dollarization of the developing world. And there's a lot of estimates that by 2030 to 2035, there's going to be about $10 trillion worth of equities and other assets, traditional assets in the cryptocurrency space. So when you have large institutions, nation states like the United States, and a huge growth of the user base from about 550 million to a billion, the fundamentals are just sound. There's no way for these markets to stay depressed forever. They're just reflecting the current macro environment.
Charles, it's a fascinating conversation. I am genuinely coming at this as a layman. I understand very little about crypto. But one thing I'll take on faith that, it's going to go back up to 250,000. I personally haven't got a clue. But do we need 18,000 different types of coin? This is my point. Okay?
No.
I mean, Bitcoin, get it. Ethereum, get it. Solana, get it. Doge, whatever. But 18,000, Charles?
Well, yeah, you got a lot of websites too. So, anytime you have an emerging technology, there's 1,000 flowers that bloom, and not all those flowers survive the winter. There's always a great explosion and then a Cambrian extinction of companies. And then there's going to be a consolidation to a collection of dominant standards. The challenge is that we're just moving very quickly, and you're not talking about one technology class. When you look at crypto, it's not just a financial asset. You're also talking about protocols to run social networks and artificial intelligence and supply chains and medical records. So it's kind of a rewiring of the back end of society. And the real value proposition is global trade. This is the only technology we have when China and Russia and the United States aren't getting along, where we can still do global business and have some fair rules that don't change every 15 minutes. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when we didn't worry about tariffs anymore. Now we do. And I was old enough to remember when we had transnational groups that actually had teeth, but now we have great powers conflict like the old Soviet days again. So you need a safe commercial space, and that's what the cryptocurrency space is providing. And innovation is going to create a tremendous amount of competition. But remember, you're talking about 8 billion people playing in this space, not just a single nation state or a single standard.
Sure.
So overall, I think we're growing at the right rate. If you look year by year, we gain more people, we gain more capital. In the last 15 years, we've gone from pretty much nothing to a multi-trillion-dollar market. And there's no other technology class that's had the opportunity to grow this quickly relative to where it's at in the market.